Separate Ways 2023 is an action-packed DLC that tells the main story but through Ada Wong's perspective. The premise is essentially the same, but with a few twists and changes that create a new and refreshing take for players that are familiar with the original. Wesker sends Ada to retrieve a sample of the amber from Louise, but faces new threats such as infection and her new pursuer that goes by the name of the Black Robe. In this video, I'm going to be reviewing the gameplay, soundtrack, and the story of Separate Ways 2023. Players can experience this side campaign like the spy that Ada is with her high-tech gear that helps us progress throughout the game. Her new islands called Iris can track down foot and fingerprints that play hand-to-hand with certain puzzles you encounter. Ada's grappling gun not only allows you to reach higher areas like in the original, but you can also pull yourself onto your enemies and perform melee attacks. And with the purchase of the classic Ada Wong charm from the merchant, players gain the ability to pull enemies' shield away during combat. Ada has 3 starting weapons, which are the Blacktail pistol, the TMP submachine gun, and the common tactical knife. The crossbow, which is a weapon you find on your route, shoots arrows with explosives attached onto them, decimating enemies in huge crowds. My only gripe with the crossbow is there is a couple of seconds of delay when reloading and switching weapons when equipped, which can put you at risk of taking damage against enemies. So make sure to gain enough distance before you reload and switch weapons from your crossbow. The merchant returns, and similar to Leon's campaign, players can purchase other weapons that are completely exclusive to Ada, and there's dialogue of the merchant admitting to Ada that he's kept those weapons hidden from Leon, referring to him as his other customer.
Some items just for you. My other customer doesn't know about these.
Upgrading your weapons is available as well, which was something that was not included in the original. And as expected, Ada now has her own list of requests from the merchant, similar to Leon's campaign. It was a no-brainer for Capcom to add some side quests for Ada's campaign, since not only does it expand the gameplay, but fans who have played the original will notice that one of the requests is a callback from the original, where you must retrieve Leon's jacket and sell it to the merchant. Overall, the gameplay is up to par with Leon's campaign, but with a few more liberties that display the kind of badass double agent that Ada Wong is. I can confidently say that Separate Ways has one of the best soundtracks in the series, and if Ada's gear didn't make you feel like a double agent, the soundtrack to Separate Ways 2023 certainly does, with certain spy theme tracks that are very fitting for her. Certain tracks from the original Resident Evil 4 have been remixed to perfection, only exclusive to this side campaign. The infiltration theme has been remixed, which is nearly identical to the original, and probably everyone's favorite from now on. Other tracks like the Save theme, the Merchant theme, and the Separate Ways main title theme have been improved as well. The one track that surprised me the most to hear is the Ada Wong theme from Resident Evil 2 play when progressing through chapters and in the end credits. It's a shame this track wasn't in Resident Evil 2 Remake, but regardless, it's beautiful and I'm sure it made fans grin from ear to ear. Separate Ways 2023 opens with Ada breaking Luis out of his cell, who was imprisoned by Los Illuminados inside Salazar's castle. Although Ada's gesture was nice, her real intentions for rescuing Luis is to obtain a sample of the amber and in exchange help Luis evacuate like they had arranged. But it looks like Ada will be putting in some overtime since Luis doesn't have it on him, but promises that it's safely hidden. On their way to retrieve the amber, the Black Robe enemy introduces itself, causing both Luis and Ada to split up and agree to meet up at the church afterwards. The Black Robe manages to strike Ada, infecting her with the Plaga parasite, causing her to hallucinate over this fog that gets denser over time as their fight progresses. This fog is essentially a reference to the Black Fog virus from the cancelled Resident Evil 3.5. Due to Ada's hallucinations, the Black Robe can clone itself, making it difficult to find her target. The way to identify the real target is to attack the clone with its red glowy eyes that light up at random times. After an intense battle, the Black Robe is defeated, for now. Wesker then checks in on Ada for an update and wants his amber, so we leave the castle and head straight towards the church. On our way to the church, Ada spots Leon fighting Ganados in town square, so we head on to the church and ring the bell, saving Leon's life. But there's one problem. Luis isn't here. Thanks to Wesker, we find out that Luis's signal was lost somewhere in the forest near the house of Mendes. On our way there, we arrive to town square and have a second date with our pursuer, which plays out the same as the first battle, except the hallucinations from the Black Robe are stronger than previously. After defeating the Black Robe for the second time, we head over to the house of Mendes and find Leon in trouble again, and save him from the big cheese. Leon departs while we stay to search for clues, and in the process, we find out that Luis was taken to an abandoned factory. As Ada prepares to make her way to the factory, we are surprised by Chief Mendes and get chased down by him, similar to Mr. X in Resident Evil 2 Remake. After escaping the big cheese, we find the factory where Luis was taken to, but Ada seems to be out of luck since Luis is nowhere to be found. After a little bit of an inspection, we find Luis's frequency number written on a pack of cigarettes. We call Luis and find out that he has hid himself inside a big house outside the village past the windmill, and they both agree to meet there. But once stepping out of the factory, Ada's infection wears her down as she passes out, leaving herself vulnerable for enemies nearby. But thankfully, our knight in black shining armor, Mr. Albert fucking Wesker, saves the day. Once Ada awakes from her little slumber, we see Wesker with a vial and a syringe in his hands, which may indicate he either took a blood sample from Ada or injected some medicine. It would make sense if he did decide to heal her since he needs her for this mission, but then again, it also makes sense that he took a sample of her blood since she's infected with Las Plagas, which could be very useful to him. Whatever the case may be, Wesker's getting fed up with Ada and is losing patience, but still needs her to retrieve the amber and lets her continue her mission. We continue our way to find Luis, and once arriving, we find a huge mob of Ganados surrounding the house and face a bigger threat that's been released from its cage. In this section of the DLC, we fight El Gigante, and it plays out the same as Leon's campaign, except players can now use the hookshot to pull themselves onto rooftops from each cabin placed in the battlefield. Once defeating our giant BFF, we finally meet with Luis, but there's one problem. Luis doesn't have the amber on him, and to piss off Ada even more, Luis explains that he needs to do a quick favor before he can retrieve the amber. Ada's patience has worn off and threatens to kill him, but Luis explains that he needs to get to his lab to find some medicine for Leon, Ashley, and for Ada herself, since Luis can recognize that she is also infected with Las Plagas. The medicine won't kill the parasite, but it will suppress it, sparing them extra time. With not much of a choice, Ada decides to follow Luis and run off to Luis's lab. Upon their arrival, they find Luis's lab torched into flames by Los Iluminados, but Luis quickly runs into his lab to try and retrieve the medicine. Ada rushes in to rescue him before the place burns down and kills the man she needs to complete her mission. Unfortunately for Ada, Luis couldn't get a hold of the medicine, but thankfully, Luis can make another batch since the ingredients they need are in this castle. Luis suggests they split up yet again, and Ada will retrieve the 3 ingredients while Luis will retrieve the amber. After 2 puzzles and 1 intense battle against armored knights, we retrieve the 3 ingredients and rush back to meet with Luis. Upon meeting with Luis, we exchange the 3 ingredients for the amber, and Luis creates medicine to suppress the virus. Unfortunately, the medicine isn't very effective at first, and to make things worse, the Black Robe spots them and approaches them. Ada and Luis split up, and Ada has a final dance with our pursuer, except this time, the black robe reveals its true identity as the U3. The U3 has a new look compared to its old design and can now shoot air projectiles from its tail. The fight against U3 is different from the original, but the battlefield is very reminiscent to one of its old stages. There's two phases of this fight, and the U3 mutates and it can dig underground and attack you from the ceiling as well. After finally defeating the U3 once and for all, Ada spots Luis and Leon, but Luis seems to be fatally wounded. Krauser now has the Amber, and Ada spots him trying to escape the scene, so she follows him, but Krauser successfully escapes with Ashley. Leon and Ada then ride a jet ski to the island and immediately go their separate ways. Once arriving to the island, we see Ada spying on Krauser, who has just handed over the Amber to Sadler. Before Ada could pull the trigger, Wesker shows up with a proposition for Ada since there has been a change of plans. Ada accepts and takes Wesker's briefcase to continue her mission, but Wesker seems to be very fixated on Krauser and Ada does not trust him. Ada heads towards her destination, and once arriving, she discovers that Wesker is intending to blow up the entire island, but Ada plays by her own rules and disarms the explosives. After disobeying Wesker's orders, we finally meet with Sadler and interrupt his meeting with both Leon and Ashley. Here is where we finally fight Sadler, and it is a major improvement compared to the original. Once defeating Sadler, we finally retrieve the Amber and confirm with Wesker, but surprise, surprise, Sadler is still alive and gets one up on us. And finally, we are at the finale, where Leon finds Ada tied up by Sadler and frees her before the host forces them to split up. While Leon fights Sadler, Ada rushes to get to the Warhammer and throw it to Leon to finish Sadler once and for all. Finally, Sadler is dead, but Ada still has a job to finish and takes the Amber from Leon and evacuates the island in a chopper sent by Wesker. We see what happens after Ada gets inside the chopper through the main campaign, but we actually get a new post-credit scene, and in this scene, we hear a voice reporting to Wesker that Ada's chopper is flying off course and that most of the explosives throughout the island did not go off.
Calculated destruction is well below 50% of the estimates. Most of the island remains intact.
Oh, Ada. What to do with you?
The choppers is still within range, sir. Should we open fire?
No. Her little act of defiance changes nothing. Besides,
we see that Wesker has Krauser's dead body lying on a table. Since Krauser does carry the dominant strain of Las Plagas, Wesker has no use for the Amber anymore and can continue to Africa to begin global saturation, hinting Resident Evil 5 Remake.
soon, the sun will set on the age of man.
And that concludes my Separate Ways 2023 spoiler review, but before I end this video, I want to talk about the bonuses that players can unlock after completing Separate Ways. After completing this beefy DLC, players can unlock Ada's classic red dress, Luis's classic outfit, and Wesker's outfit from the original Resident Evil 4. Also, the Mercenaries gets a new stage available, which is the Docks, and players get 3 new playable characters, that being Ada Wong with default and classic red dress outfits, Pinstriped Leon, and the man himself, Wesker. And if that wasn't enough, after completing every stage of Mercenaries with every playable character with a rank S+ or higher, players can unlock the beautiful RPD outfit for Leon. I'm very happy that Capcom didn't forget about the RPD outfit, since it wasn't unlockable for the original Resident Evil 4, and now Resident Evil 4 Remake is complete. And that's gonna wrap things up. What do you think of Separate Ways 2023? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Let me know down in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more Resident Evil content. Thanks for watching.